Okay. Yeah, so anyway, thanks for coming. And it was just a wonderful empowerment last night with Rinpoche. If I don't, it was about 200 people. I can't remember who came and who didn't, but it was just really, really beautiful. So we always get so stirred up, Christine and I, after something like that. I have a hard time sleeping and just like all this positive energy and stuff. So anyway, I'm glad I made it this morning. And yeah, so we can start again. We're going to be I think this is class 5 or 6 or something, the 3 principal paths, going over some of the Asian Classic Institute information on that, some LamRim as well. So today I'd like to do something a little different just for the visualization. I wanted to sort of go between the Lama Chopa visualization for meditation, Gana Lagema, which we did last week, and then I'll do a little bit of Jorcho today as well. So I've set up, I'm going to spend a little bit of time with what they call the bath offering today that we can do as a visualization, which is always really, really nice. So anyway, so let's just get started. And again, I'll lead you through it. A bunch of, I think, if I'm not mistaken, everything's just a big blur now for me, but we were doing this kind of meditation before. So some of you might be familiar with it already, which is good. So, okay, so let's just take a moment to relax a little bit. And then we can start with our 9-point breathing. You can just sort of sit in either in a chair or in lotus position, just making sure that your back is straight. And hi, Adam and Sarah, on there. Just so that the energy winds or the chi flows or prana flows properly in your body. With that nice straight back, keep your mind awake. And we take a moment to visualize a hollow body. So in this case, it's almost like the outline of your body is just light or pure energy, and inside it's not, it's sort of a body of energy. It's not a body, an organic body of flesh and blood and bones. So if you do tantric practice and stuff, you can visualize the 3 channels. I usually don't teach this if it's just going up in public, just because there's someone that's new that might be confusing, or just they might get kind of stirred up with some of the more internal work. So I just kind of leave that out. But if you know how to visualize some channels and stuff, you can certainly add it in. And again, we'll do 3 rounds of this. So 3 full set rounds. And then again, it's 3 sets of 3 breaths. So first we close our right nostril, inhale through our left, close our left nostril, exhale through the right, getting rid of attachment energy. Too much desire, attachment, too much hanging on to things, unable to let go of stuff. That's all sort of coming out in form of black smoke or just sort of stale chi. And we reverse it the other way, where we close our left nostril, inhale through right, close our right nostril, exhale through left. Anger energy, frustration, reactivity, so forth, leaving the left nostril. In 3 deep breaths through both nostrils in a relaxed way. In out 3 times. And on the final inhalation, just hold it for a moment just before it gets uncomfortable. Put your mind and just hold the breath at the navel, a little bit below the belly button there. And just put your mind there. So we have a mixture of the breath, the prana, and the mind all together just at the navel chakra. And then we can just relax and release. So let's start 3 short times on your own here. Okay, just so while you're finishing, I can start with the Heart Sutra here. So we're just sort of blessing our practice and getting clear on our intention. We can always take a moment to do our bodhicitta motivation when we're doing the visualization of the refuge tree. But at this point, it's always good to start everything with emptiness to have our view on things being correct. Homage to the profession of wisdom, the Blessed Mother. Thus I've heard at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgriya and Mass Vulture's Mountain, together a great assembly of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. That time the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. Switch classes here. At that time, also, Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, was looking perfectly at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, looking perfectly at the five aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said to Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, shall should a son of the lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom. Thus he spoke, and Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, replied to Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look perfectly like this. Subsequently, looking perfectly and correctly at the five aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Form is empty and emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form, and form is not other than emptiness. Likewise, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, having no characteristics. They're not produced and do not cease. They have no defilement, no separation from defilement. They have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there's no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, and no consciousness. There's no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mentality. No form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no tactile object, no phenomenon. There is no I element, so forth, up to no mentality element, and also up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so forth, up to no aging and death, no exhaustion of aging and death. Likewise, there's no suffering, origin, cessation, or path, no exalted awareness, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there's no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in perfection of wisdom. Their minds have no obstructions and no fear. Passing utterly beyond perversity, they attain the final nirvana. Also, all the Buddhas reside perfectly in the three times, having relied upon the perfection of wisdom, became manifest, complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, unsurpassed mantra, the equal to the unequal mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since it's not false, should be known as the truth. Mantra of perfection of wisdom is proclaimed, Tayata Om Gata Gata Paragata Parasam Gata Bodhisoha. Shariputra, Bodhisattva, great being, should train the profound perfection of wisdom like this. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and said to Spirit Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, that had spoken well. Good, O son of lineage, just like that. Since it's like that, just as you have revealed, in that way, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced, and the Tathagata will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Shariputra, Spirit Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, and the entire circle of disciples, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, and spirits, were delighted and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. Okay, so let's just take a moment now to get into our meditation for the Josho practice. We can just feel now that we're in a wide open space. Again, grounds just like lapis lazuli. Beautiful blue, soft to the touch, warm, easy to sit on, and we're surrounded by all sentient beings of the six realms. So we're in a wide open space just far the horizon. So we can just sort of fit everybody here. And although this is just kind of like a visualization, we can feel that because everything's interrelated and everything's in a relationship, we sort of are, figuratively speaking, in sort of space with all beings here now anyway, because we're all sort of together in this vast network or web of life or interconnection. And this is what sort of allows us to have a really good intention for our practice of doing it on behalf of all beings. So let's visualize our mother on our left, our father on our right, representing sort of the two energy poles in our body, so the feminine energy and masculine energy, red drops and white drops. Behind us are the people we love the most, sort of as emotional support. And in front of us are people we like the least or have issues with, sort of karmic debts or purifying karma. this kind of thing. People can be just in our personal lives or even public figures or whatever people you have issues with. And just feel that we're doing this practice with them as well and on their behalf, sending them healing, prayer energy, and so forth. Now, concentric circles outwards, let's visualize all other sentient beings. So starting with people from all over the world, human beings, different backgrounds, countries, and so forth, even in different realms. Visualize a vast number of animals from the animal realm, all different ecosystems, from the very small to the very big, especially ecosystems under threat, just now global warming and pollution and so forth here in our world. Celestial beings, different kinds of demigods and gods. So this from the God realm, just the desire realm, form and formless realm. It's beings in these sort of higher planes of existence where it's really hard for us to imagine what that's like. Countless spirit beings in the spirit world. So we can just think that the astral and ethereal worlds are represented here as well. And countless spirit beings, again, from the very small nature spirits, different gods and so forth. Dragons and pixies and elves and whatever else, we can just feel that they're all here with us too. In the six realms and in the bardo spaces between the six realms. And the vast number of sentient beings are all in lower states of rebirth. You have to think that they're kind of in the school of hard knocks, so to speak, with their negative karma, that they have to kind of graduate to higher planes, higher realms to continue their spiritual path. So right now they're in the hungry ghost realm or different hells. But when we visualize them here together, just really feel that they're happy and sort of blissed out and get a chance to practice the Dharma with us. So again, you send a little drone up in the sky to look around, just sort of as far as the horizon in all direction, all sentient beings. And we're in the middle here leading our practice for them. So for the Jorcho, the refuge tree, it's a little bit different than what we've been visualizing. Of course, we've been doing the Lama Chopa one. So this is sort of going back a little bit to when I was leading Jorcho practice. So similar principle, this is one of the three refuge trees that or three refuge fields that we visualize in the Gelugpa tradition. This is the main LamRim one, showing the unity of Sutra and Tantra. So out of Lake Manasarovar is a beautiful world tree in the sort of sky in front of us. Beautiful, clear, open blue sky. So it's just huge. It's stories high, almost like we're standing in front of a big skyscraper or something. Beautiful oak or ash or maple tree, whatever you'd like to visualize it as. And just feel this is just like the world tree uniting the upper world, the middle, and the lower world, kind of representing the whole cosmos. And in it, we're visualizing all holy beings, all the Buddhas and light beings. So just like Bob Thurman calls it, sort of the big Christmas tree. That's a big Rockefeller Christmas tree in New York City, if you go to New York around Christmas time. All the little Buddhas and dakinis and angels in it like ornaments. So the central one that we're visualizing is Buddha Shakyamuni. He's right in the middle. He's like a big harvest moon. So again, all this is made out of pure light or pure energy. So it's kind of ghost-like. We can kind of see through it a little bit. It's almost like a big hologram. But pure blissful energy, just by like it's sort of radiating to us. So just by being in front of it, we're just completely blissed out and happy. And it's very, very beautiful. It's just like everything's made out of jewels or diamonds. So just if, whatever, let's say you go into Tiffany's and you just start looking at all the diamond necklaces and everything, it's all sparkly and shining. And there's a certain energy to that that's really, really beautiful. This is the same thing we're getting just by seeing this beautiful refuge tree. So Shakyamuni Buddha is in the middle. And so he's bigger than everyone else, like a big moon. He's wearing the three robes of a monk in lotus position, and he's holding a begging bowl of medicinal nectar in his left hand, and his right hand is touching the earth, palm open in the subduing mudra. Golden energy body, very beautiful. And then at his heart is his higher Sambhogakaya, or enjoyment or beatific or angelic body, sort of his higher identity, I guess you could say. And that's as the divine couple, Vajradhara and Vajradhatushvari. And they're in divine sexual embrace, beautiful sapphire blue bodies, wearing crowns and beautiful silks and jewelry. And Vajradhara is in lotus position. He has his arms around Vajradhatushvari's back, sort of cross, holding Dorje in his left hand. Bell in his left hand, Dorje in his right. Cross like this. And then she has her arms around his neck. Again, she's got a skull cup in her left hand and a curved chopper knife in her right hand. So if you're really good at visualizing, even sort of between them at their heart, you can visualize a blue Hun letter, H-U-N, representing the enlightened mind. And this is softly giving off rainbow lights. Now on our left, or Buddha Shakyamuni's right, is the Buddha of loving kindness, Maitreya. And he's in Bodhisattva form, so he's in lotus position and younger, golden energy body with the crown, holding two, with the turning the wheel of Dharma mudra at his heart. So the index fingers are touching the thumbs, fingers open, and holding two white lotuses at his ears. And around him are all men and women, people who have taught last 2,500 years the vast path of Buddhism. So just all the teachings on great compassion, love, bodhicitta, and in particular, the mind-only or Yogacara school of emptiness. So we can feel like Arya Sangha and Vasubandhu and so forth are in this group of gurus. And on the other side, in the same form, Bodhisattva form, is the Buddha of wisdom, Manjushri. So he's in lotus position, again holding just like Maitreya in the turning of Dharma mudra at his heart, two white lotuses. He has a crown on. It's very, very beautiful. And around him are all people who have taught, men and women, so forth, who have taught teachings on emptiness. This is the profound path of Buddhism. It's all teachings of non-self. Think of Arya Nagarjuna being the big one, being a very famous saint. So there's sort of two poles here on either side, two great teachers prophesied by Buddha himself, where he said, after my dying, my doctrine will be revitalized by two famous saints in the coming years who will bring forth my doctrine, unity of wisdom and method or compassion. So Nagarjuna and Arya Sangha. So behind Buddha now in the merit field, let's visualize. You can sort of see through Buddha. So it's sort of like a cross in there, but we're staggering a little bit so you can kind of see sort of up above and a little behind him is Vajradhara, this time solo, a beautiful sapphire blue body, crown and Dorje and bell. And all the tantric gurus last 2,500 years that have taught secret mantra or Vajrayana. All different yogis and yoginis and so forth behind. And now in front of Buddha in the tree is our main root teacher of this life, surrounded by all other teachers that have taught us Dharma or any kind of correct spiritual path, or any sort of wholesome personal growth teachings you've got in your life. These are all sort of manifestations of our root teacher, who is a manifestation of Buddha Shakyamuni. So those are our teachers of our life. And then sort of in lines coming in, almost like they're sitting in a stadium or bleachers towards us, are all other holy beings. And we can think of all the other Buddhas and light beings, like the Buddhas of the 4 tantric classes, the 1,000 Buddhas of the Seon, universal Buddhas, Dakinis of 24 places, 16 Arhats, and so forth. All different Dharmapalas and Dharma protectors at the bottom. Just this huge Christmas tree with Buddha Shakyamuni in the middle here. So we can just feel that at his heart, is sort of the fact that Vajradhara and Vajradhatushvara is at his heart again, is the unity of Sutra and Tantra. as we go through these teachings and practice more and more together, we'll see that all of our bodhicitta and our renunciation, the three principal paths, are leading us to a correct understanding of emptiness. In particular, the middle way consequentialist school or Madhyamika Prasangika school. And we will see that one of the best sort of analogies to understand emptiness is independent arising. And ultimately, the way we understand dependent arising is in terms of karma. And so to understand emptiness is to understand karma. To understand karma is to understand emptiness. When we observe karma properly and produce good actions and effects, our mind and becomes more and more pure. If our mind becomes more and more pure, the world becomes more and more pure. Tantra is about changing our mind, about having pure conception and pure appearance. So if we have an understanding of karma and emptiness and practice that in day-to-day lives more and more, our conceptions become pure. If our conceptions become pure karmically, the appearances will follow and they will become pure. So even being a sutra practitioner, practicing sutra, doing what we're doing now, studying, we will start to automatically enter into Tantra, even whether we know it or not. And this is the teaching of the unity of Sutra and Tantra that we get, in particular, so eloquently put by Tsongkhapa, the founder of our tradition. So the heart's taking refuge, I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment and go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings till we achieve enlightenment and go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings till we achieve enlightenment and go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. So taking refuge, generating bodhicitta. Visualize that beautiful white lights and nectars are now coming down from the tree, from Buddha Shakyamuni and all the other gurus and Buddhas and so forth, for us and all sentient beings. So just feel like a white, soft light, like moonlight is coming down, purifying all the beings around us, getting rid of all of their negativities and so forth, bad energy, obstructions and obscurations. And for us, just sort of like light and nectar is going right into our body, cleaning us all out, making our body crystal clear. All of our negative karma and bad energy is being purified here. And whenever we do these visualizations, they always say, no, Lama Chopa Rinpoche always says in Tantra, you always have to mix everything with bliss. So whenever this is happening, just feel very, very blissful and very happy. We always have to add that component in. So anyway, thought came to mind here. It's almost like adding ketchup or hot sauce to something. I know maybe that's not a good analogy, but it's just if you have your fries and your burger or whatever, you have your good Vietnamese pho soup and you want to add the hot sauce to it, we're always adding the bliss component to this, training our mind to be happy and blissful. So we just feel just as a beautiful shower of energy, making our mind blissful. And now switching the color to golden energy coming down. So first we've been purified, making this crystal clear. Now we're being empowered. And like I say, just like a little video game where your character gets sort of up, goes up to the next level. Or charging your cell phone or whatever, where just like the bar is a little battery, your cell phone going up. We're getting all this positive energy by golden energy and light coming down, allowing us to sort of understand these teachings today and really sort of up our renunciation and our bodhicitta in particular. So blessing is Jinlap, mind transformation, making our mind positive and powerful. Generating the four immeasurables, measurable love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. May everyone be happy. May everyone be free from misery. May no one ever be separated from their happiness. May everyone have equanimity, free from hatred and attachment. And I like to say with equanimity, also having a warm, friendly attitude towards all beings. Now making offerings here and doing the 7-limb prayer. First of 7 limbs, prostration, just from our hearts, just feel that we're making signs of respect or devotion to the merit field. We can visualize, I always say you're just leading all sentient beings doing prostrations in front of the refuge tree here. Also just from our hearts singing mantras and praises, and from our mind having deep, deep devotion, love, and respect. One definition of sacred is that which is worthy of respect. So we can just feel that this is the most sacred thing, just all the holy beings here. And because we have Buddha nature, there's an identity between us and them. So we're actually even sort of honoring ourselves, our own enlightened nature here. Now for offerings, we can visualize just to start, just sending out wonderful flowers in all directions like Samantabhadra, or even if you'd like candles or lamps in all directions like butter lamps. You see those photos from Nepal around Bodhmath or Swainambhu Stupa at night, where you have millions of butter lamps and they're all sort of glowing. It's very beautiful. From our heart, making this offering to the refuge tree. And now we're going to do a what they call bath offering that we have. This is an old sort of LamRim practice that you need a little bumpa here and a mirror and a bowl and so forth. We can go over this one day if you like. But the big thing is actually we're doing a bath offering as a way of sort of taking a bath figuratively, even with our own mind. So what we visualize here is we're offering a bath to all holy beings. And this just is sort of a lot of merit, a lot of beautiful things, way of sort of flushing bad energy out of ourselves, making, again, our mind very, very pure. So from the merit field here, from Buddha Shakyamuni's throne, we can visualize that there emanates out a manifestation of a big, beautiful bathhouse, almost like one of these sort of Turkish baths or spas. And it's square, it's golden, made out of pure energy or light. And there's 4 doors, one in each side. And when you go in it, you can sort of in your mind's eye sort of go in from the top and see that once you enter the doors on either side, the bath is down, beautiful bath is down at the bottom. And you have to go downstairs to get to it. So we offer this right here. And we can just feel that the Buddhas are now coming down from the refuge tree and entering the bathhouse. So there's basically like 4 parts we can feel that Buddha and our teachers and all the other Buddhas are coming in one entranceway. Maitreya, maybe the one right in front, Maitreya and Manjushri come around the sides, and then Vajradhara and the Tantra Gurus go around the other side and enter in, and they're all sort of coming. Just recite the verse here. There's sort of the specific verses that you recite for the bath offering here. So it goes. A bathhouse of sweet fragrance, a crystal floor, clear and shining, pillars of radiant gems alluring, a brilliant canopy of pearls. Embodiment of all the Buddhas, the nature of Vajradhara, root of the triple gem, to all the Gurus I offer purifying bath. So we can just feel now that just we start offering the bath, like once the Buddhas get into the bathhouse, it's kind of interesting. They have bodies made of light, so they always say that even when they're getting in the water there, they're not even really getting wet. But we can just feel that we're offering beautiful saffron water here. Offer this bath to Buddha Shakyamuni, conqueror Vajradhara and Vajrateshvari, offering the bath to Sangha, all the vast path gurus, and just all the profound path gurus, Vajradhara and Tantra gurus, and all the other Buddhas. Their bodies are dry with the finest clean and fragrant cloth, Om, Hum, Tam, Hi, Akaya, Vishodanye, Soha. Saying this, we dry their body, use a little bit of kata here. So we can feel now the Buddhas are in just our mind's eye are coming out of the bath. So their bodies are being dried. We can feel that their previous clothes, we're offering them even new clothes. The previous clothes turn into golden light that dissolve into our third eye. You know, there's kind of like little bath attendants, like little gods and goddesses that are helping them sort of changed here. To the holy bodies of the victorious ones, I offer precious perfumes, their fragrance pervading the three worlds. Just as a smith polishes a highly refined gold, I anoint them with magnificent scents. I offer precious garments of rainbow brightness, delightful to touch, or to purify my mind. May I be adorned by the sublime clothing of patience. Naturally adorned with noble signs, the Buddhas need no other ornaments. The supreme jeweled ornaments are offered that all beings may attain a body with excellent marks. So at this point, you hold up your mala. So we can just feel that again, we're just giving them new adornments, new clothes, perfume for their bodies. They're all sort of getting changed. And then with appropriate verses, offer umbrellas, vases, flowers, and so forth. So again, we can feel that we're offering all the different precious gifts of a Chakravartin emperor, empress. With love to me and all sentient beings, by the force of your miraculous powers, as long as I make offerings, O Buddhas, please prevail. Upon saying that, we can just feel that all the Buddhas start to go back up into their sort of seats in the refuge tree. And now the bathhouse starts to get really, really small and dissolve. And it sort of floats up, sort of as golden light dissolves into Buddha Shakyamuni's throne. Now taking a moment for confession and rejoicing, just thinking of all sort of negative habits and qualities and hang-ups and problems we always have, each the ones sort of specific to our own karma, and just sort of confess them, declare them, acknowledge them, own them. Say that we're just going to overcome them, let them go. And now rejoicing in all the virtues and good qualities and good energy of all holy beings and all sentient beings as well, and ourselves. So holding our hands, a lion throne, as well as a 8-spoked golden Dharma chakra. Again, we just send these up. May all beings, holy beings, stay with us always. Our gurus stay with us. Never leave them to nirvana. May they always continue to guide us and teach us. And now finally dedicating all of our good virtue, our good qualities, and just even the Dharma we've done today, dedicating this for the enlightenment of sentient beings. Well, finally, before meditation dissolution, let's just do one more offering here from our hearts, which is the mandala offering, just holding a purified universe in our hand. Vedic universe with Mount Meru and the 4 continents, 8 subcontinents. Just feeling that we're offering this universe, just our whole world, almost like the galaxies and so forth, completely beautiful and pure. Just like when you're having a good day and everything looks really, really pure and happy. Sort of the whole world or universe is like that. Basically like a Buddha universe or Tantric universe. And we offer this up to all the holy beings here. The ground sprinkled with perfume and spread with flowers. Great mountain, 4 lands, sun and moon, seen as a Buddha land and offer thus. May all beings enjoy such pure moons. Take a moment again now. Golden lights coming down from blessing energy, from merit field, from Buddha Shakyamuni, Asanga, Nagarjuna, Vajradhara, so forth, our own root guru. So like strong sunlight, and again, just We made all these beautiful offerings, and this is what they call in shamanism reciprocity. We make offerings to the spirit world blesses us, goes in a circle of giving. We're making all these offerings and opening our heart, and we're getting all this blessing energy coming down, which is opening our heart further, inspiring us, making us spiritually powerful, opening our heart that it be generous, loving, and compassionate. Now, while this energy is still coming down, we can start to feel that the merit field, the big refuge tree, starts to dissolve. Everything starts to absorb inward, sort of condensing as it's absorbing. So, first of all, Lake Manasarovar and beautiful refuge trees start to melt in the golden light. That sort of absorbs into the Buddhas. Now, all the Buddhas and holy beings in front of Buddha Shakyamuni melt into our root guru. And then a root teacher of this life melts into light and dissolves into the Buddha. On either side, all the gurus, vast path and profound path, melt into Maitreya and Manjushri respectively. They become like little tiny suns or orange balls of light that dissolve inward into the Buddha. Behind Buddha now, just in the sky, all the tantric gurus dissolve into Vajradhara, and he becomes a ball of blue light. And the blue light comes and dissolves into Buddha. Now finally in the sky, like a big harvest moon or a big sun, is Buddha Shakyamuni, and he starts to melt into light, to sort of dissolve from the top of his head inward, and the bottom soles of his feet inward, this, into his heart, into the divine couple Vajradhara and Vajradhatishvari. So now it's just them in the sky, again, like a beautiful piece of lapis lazuli or a blue diamond, blue sapphire. They come down to the crown of our head, almost sort of drifting down nice and slow. Right about a foot above our crown, they turn around, face the same direction. And because they're made out of light, they can enter our crown, which they do now. Our crown chakra, just in front of our spine, our central channel, slowly descend. And into our heart. And once they do, just they absorb into us, directly into our root mind. And just like dropping the sugar cube in hot water, they instantly melt. Just feel that all the compassion, the wisdom and power, blessings of all the Buddhas go directly into our mind. You can just sit with this, just feel just great sense of spaciousness, connection with all. Like I always say, joy and bliss, so the bliss being a sense of totality and absolute peace and rest and satisfaction, feeling complete, not dissatisfied or anxious or anything. And then joy, since that's being an active happiness, a creative happiness, a powerful happiness, not sort of a blissed out, kind of stoned out feel, but one that's completely clear and awake and almost ready to do something. Okay, slowly coming out of meditation. Okay. So we're just going to teach a little bit again for the next 10, 15 minutes here, just on some more principles from the three principal paths. So what I wanted to introduce today is just the first few teachings on karma. There's two whole classes we can do on this later date where we'll go really into the unity of karma and emptiness and teach that kind of exhaustively. But when we're going over renunciation, we at least have to have a tiny little bit of an idea. But I know you guys know all this stuff anyway, but I don't, if I'm sort of putting this up as a recording, I don't know if this is new people just showing up and don't know. So last week we talked about the 8 worldly dharmas being sort of the main, I guess, sort of glue that sort of keeps us in samsara and in sort of the cycle of suffering life. There's also a little list here that I forgot to mention, which is the 6 problems of human life. So in addition to the 8 worldly dharmas, there's 6 other problems that we have to deal with being here in samsara as a human, which is number 1, there being no certainty in life. Just on a day-to-day basis, we live in uncertainty. 2, there's never any satisfaction. This is sort of a long discussion we can talk about with the 3 levels of suffering in samsara, of course, but you can see that one of the senses of dukkha, the suffering of change, is there's always this pervasive sense of dissatisfaction. In psychoanalysis, they talk about this sense. It's kind of funny. Freud talked about this sense of this idea that always feeling that something's missing in your life. No matter how happy you are, there's a sense that something's always off. And they call this kind of like, quote, the missing object or what. Anyway, it's a long discussion, psychoanalysis, but there's always this sense, again, that we have no matter what's happening, where we're happy or everything's kind of working out, there's always this pervasive sense of dissatisfaction that's really kind of pushing us along to divert ourselves, to sort of chase after happiness or whatever have you. 3, we will have to die endlessly because the mind has no beginning and no end. And of course, number 4 being we have to take birth endlessly because the mind has no beginning and no end. 5, life goes up and down like a roller coaster, a Ferris wheel. We're always going through cycles of happiness and sadness, good things happening, bad things happening, always up and down, even throughout our day. And 6, you're on your own, especially in death, in the sense that whatever happens, we're here alone, living our life kind of as our own karmic narrative. That even with the people that we love and get the most support from, they can't live our life for us. They can't be born for us. They can't die for us, this or that. So we're sort of all alone, making choices, living in a state of uncertainty, chasing after happiness, avoiding suffering, this and that. So there's this fundamental aloneness and anxiety that comes with that. So these are 6 problems of human life. I just wanted to add that from last week with the 8 worldly dharmas. So when we're renouncing things, generating a sense of renunciation, what we're renouncing are these worldly things, okay, and turning our minds to the Dharma. So just the 4 principles of karma. Let's just talk a little bit about what that is. And again, this lays the foundation that when we can come to teachings on emptiness over the next few weeks. We're going to talk next week about bodhicitta and then a little bit on emptiness for the end of the class. So karma, they say here, you can't perceive the truth of karma through your own thinking. You have to accept it through scripture and see its logic. So the one thing about karma, I always tell people, there's sort of a thing nowadays where people always say that, oh, Buddhism is a science and it's completely rational, this and that. There's some truth to that, but I think on the whole, a lot of people say, well, the one thing we don't have in Buddhism is faith. Like, let's say if I'm a Christian or Muslim, I have to take so much on faith. But I always like to poke that, sort of pop the balloon there and say that probably the most important teaching you get in Buddhism is, of course, karma, or one of them anyway. That's one of the main teachings. And that's accepted completely on faith on one level. That's the big joke, because on the whole, as you can see, most like karma is the idea that cause and effect apply everywhere. But what's interesting is that we can't see how that's true. We can see how cause and effect happens sort of where there's like a direct link. Like, let's say if I slap myself with my watch, that hurts, you know, that sort of consequence from that action is visible in that case. But most of the time, the consequences of our actions are not visible. We don't see them, and we can't sort of have access to this idea that what's happening now is from causes that we've created in past lives. So this is sort of an act of faith that we have to accept this. But what sort of, I guess, makes it not sort of a blind faith that we sort of accept it sort of inductively, so to speak, or inferentially is probably a better way of putting it, is we accept it through reason and logic. Is if we can see everything happening around us in terms of cause and effect, if we're the author of our lives, where we create actions that have consequences, then we have to sort of think that, I guess, reasonably, this applies all the way down. That basically everything is connected through cause and effect. There can't be some things that are connected with cause and effect and other things aren't connected with causes and effect. But if that's the case, then everything's important. Everything has a cause, everything is effect, everything matters, from the most tiniest little action that we do to sort of the big important actions that we do. So they say that karma is, in this case, what they call a hidden object, a very hidden object. So emptiness is considered a hidden object because it's invisible. It's the non-inherence of all phenomena. But we can, again, approach emptiness before we see it directly in meditation. We can approach it through reason and logic as well. But it's actually easier to see than karma. Only when you're completely enlightened and you perceive the two truths of conventional reality and ultimate reality simultaneously as a Buddha, only then can we see karma as true. Like, in the sense that you'll be able to see all the dimensions of karma, of all causes and effects simultaneously at that point. So it's kind of like you have to wait till you're all the way enlightened as a Buddha before you get all the answers of, you know, the famous butterfly flaps its wings and creates some kind of a karmic effect somewhere else in the world, this and that. Only a Buddha has that kind of cosmic vision. So until then, we have to sort of take karma as being sort of a thing that we use our reason and logic for. And this is why, in a lot of ways, I make fun, you know, with a friend of mine, we talk about, you know, when we're talking about Dharma, oftentimes in Buddhist communities, you get a lot of Dharma gossip where people are conjecturing about why things happen, or, whatever, Trump didn't become this because it is bad karma, this or that, or we know why Matthew's having these problems is because X, Y, and Z. But the thing is, we don't know karma. We don't know karma in our own lives. We don't have that cosmic vision of how everything links up in the whole system. So technically, I think it's good not to ever make these judgment calls on other people, because we can't see karmically. Only a Buddha can actually know all the individual things that lead up to things. So anyway, what is karma? Just, I don't have much time here. So the definition of karma, you often see in books, they call karma as being action, but that's kind of a literal translation and not a very good one. Because what do you mean action? Like, you know, an action of me getting up and walking, or what is it? So a better way of defining karma is it's an act of thinking. So the big thing, what you get with Buddhism, Buddha always taught in the sutras and all the discourses that mind comes first, that Dharma is the act of purifying, taming and purifying your mind. Buddhism is the art, I guess you could say, of training the mind, making it positive, getting rid of the suffering in the mind. Buddha always said that what I teach is salvation from suffering. That's sort of the principle of Buddhism. And how do we do that? Not by changing external circumstances or money or something external to yourself. It's by changing your mind, training your mind. So if mind comes first, that's how you understand karma. Thinking is karma. That's the act of thinking itself is karma. So in a lot of ways, what we're saying is that thinking itself is a causal process. It's a habitual process. So even when we look at what they call the 5 paths of to getting enlightened, where we have path of accumulation, preparation, seeing, then they say path of meditation, and then no more learning. What the path of meditation, what they mean, gom means habituation. So when you think about karma, big thing of karma, cause and effect, is also habit. Meditation in Tibetan is gom, or habituation. In other words, you're training your mind on a positive object. So really, when you look at karma, it's interesting, is it's about seeing how we've habituated our mind, we've causally sculpted or created our mind in a certain way. In this case, most of the time it's negative. So what we have to do is resculpt or retrain our mind, cultivate our mind, grow our mind like a garden in a positive direction. We misunderstand karma, so wanting to be happy, not wanting to suffer. We do the wrong kinds of causal things that sculpt or give shape to the mind in a certain way that makes us suffer. The renunciation is that once we understand karma properly, we can habitually shape it the other way. We can dispositionally shape it to be a new thing. So the fact that when we do low rate, we see that mind is what they remember the definition of mind in Buddhism is that it's clear and cognizing. In other words, clear, it's immaterial, meaning it has no definition. It's just pure awareness. It's a sheer openness, and it is cognizing. Otherwise, it allows things to be. With karma, we see that, in other words, the mind can be anything we create it to be through our actions, through our habits. So Aristotle says this in Nicomachean Ethics. He says, what is ethics? Ethics is practicing the right kind of habits. If I want to be ethical, I want to be happy, I want to be virtuous, it's adopting or cultivating the right kind of habits, the right kind of behaviors, in this, the right kind of thinking, you could say, thinking and doing. Here we are doing, this is a way of understanding karma, I guess you could say. Anyway, so 4 definitions of karma here, and then we're done, which is number 1, karma is definite. 2, results are bigger than the cause. 3, if you don't create karma, you don't get the result. And 4, if you create karma, it will have a result and never go away until it ripens when you experience it. So first one, karma is definite. Good produces good and bad produces bad. In other words, there is kind of a content to karma, that certain seeds produce certain effects. This is one of the main teachings of Buddha, is that good things produce a good energy, bad things produce a bad energy. Good things produce happiness, bad things produce suffering. That's the first thing. So we shouldn't think that doing a bad thing will produce a good result, which is what we usually think, like in our worldly thing, that I can cheat and steal and be bad, but it will produce a good effect in the world, right? In other words, there's an old thought of like the ends justify the means, for instance. Number 2, the results are bigger than the cause. So this is the analogy, when Buddha was teaching all these years ago, he didn't have computers or all the digital technology we have now. It's 2,500 years ago in India, Nepal area. But what he did have is all the things people had in their day-to-day lives back then. So one thing being the idea of gardening. We're all sort of growing food and living off that, one with the land. And so the analogy we're going to use with karma is the idea of seeds. So we think of a seed as that something small ends up producing something big. There's sort of a dependent origination of a seed with all the different, the substantial cause being the seed, the circumstantial causes being all the things that need to ripen the seed, like the sun, the moisture, all, the earth, all this kind of things, and you get a plant or flower. It's the same thing with this, is that you get a small act that we've created, and over time it ends up producing a big appearance or big energy in your mind. So little things can produce big effects, and they do. They end up producing everything around you. So we'll see that even karmically, different kinds of actions can produce the intensity of different effects. So even if we, like for instance, if we have a small act with a big motivation or towards a big energy object, like a holy object, like let's say I do a kora or prostrations around the stupa, those little actions, because I have a pure big intention of bodhicitta and I'm doing it in front of a holy object, can have even super duper powerful effects. It's almost like the seed becomes like super powerful, gigantic tree, let's say. So that's the second principle of karma. And then the third and fourth basically go together. If you don't create the karma, you don't get the result. If you do create the karma, no matter what, you're going to get the result. So if I don't practice Dharma, I'm not going to get enlightened. If I don't do it, like let's say whatever, I don't go to the gym, I'm never going to get in shape. I don't learn how to cook, I'll never be able to cook. I have to create the causes for something to happen. I have to produce the causal link that produces the effect. That's just reason. That's just how causality works. But also, once I've created, this is the more Buddhist thing. We don't believe this on a day-to-day basis, but once we create the cause, that energy stays with us until it ripens. So this is the thing, and this is we learn when we go do some higher classes, just how karma is transmitted life to life. Like there's a great quote Nagarjuna has somewhere where he says, the problem of samsara is the problem of the time gap in causality, that all of us would believe karma if it was simultaneous, if we didn't have to wait. Like if whatever I did was good and it instantly ripened, you believe, or if I did something bad, like let's say, you know, whatever, Christine comes here and I smack her, and then instantly someone smacks me, rushes in the room and smacks me, I would know never to do that, right? But because there's this time gap with causality, because causes and effects are not the same thing, they're not simultaneous, there has to be a time lag. Otherwise, like as Aristotle would say, there has to be a continuum to change, otherwise change is replacement. Right? We have to see an acorn growing into a tree. If an acorn instantly became a tree, you wouldn't think they're related, right? You'd think, oh, this acorn's just been replaced by this other thing, a tree. The fact that over time there has to be sort of intermediary events makes for a continuum to show that change is possible. It's the same thing with karma. Cause and effect are two separate logical things, but they're related. So there's a time gap between them. It's that time gap itself, the fact that we don't know how long it takes for things to ripen, that our ignorance sort of jumps in the middle and separates those two. So we think they're not related. But from a Buddhist perspective, every single thing that happens to us, we've created as a karmic cause. Right? Every single thing, good thing or bad thing from all past lives. But because we don't see that link, we think that they're not related and we don't follow cause and effect. We don't follow karma. So the good thing about this, the bad thing about this, like in the Theravada tradition, it's very sweet, like when you do Hinayana Pass, because you can't purify the obstructions to omniscience, which means the habitual energies in your mind that produce dualistic appearances, when you sort of realize emptiness directly and only get rid of what they call obstacles to liberation. In other words, things appear dualistically still, but you know they're not because you've seen emptiness. You don't, until you do tantric paths, you can't purify these sort of dualistic stains on your mind. So on the lower paths of Buddhism, what they always say is you can't purify anything. So don't do anything bad. So once you've seen emptiness, you won't do anything bad. But in the Theravada tradition, you see that people are so hyper mindful about never doing anything bad because those seeds can't be purified. They're still active in your mind and they can be set off, which is interesting. I think that's great. So they really have that view that once all these seeds, negative seeds, have been planted in your mind, we've been planting them our whole lives and our whole past lives, they're ticking time bombs. So as long as you don't press the button to ignite them, they're just in your mind, right? Ready to go. So don't set them off. Don't set off any of that negative karma, right? Now, what's interesting is once you perceive emptiness, you never will. That's you sort of disconnect the bombs, but the bombs are still in your mind, so to speak. Only when we do Vajrayana or Tantra completion stage are all those bombs completely cleared out. They've been disconnected, but they're still there in our mind. All of our negative karma, those seeds, they end up they function as stains that make things appear dualistically, even though we know that they're not. Eventually, when we're doing completion stage, even that becomes completely wiped out and we were able to perceive non-dual. Like I'm running way ahead of myself here. So sorry, but I think it's interesting nonetheless. So anyway, as a good way to end, karma means anything is possible. We can create a heaven or hell right here, right now. Every little thing we do ends up producing an effect, which means it produces an appearance. And so if we cultivate the right kind of seeds, we can create a Buddha universe. We create the wrong kinds of seeds, we can produce, a living hell on earth for ourselves, this big samsaric mess that we end up living in. So all the little things that you do are all being planted in your mind and they end up staying there. So that's a good thing. Even of us doing this Saturday class here together, all the little prayers you do, all the little mantras you do, all the little saving worms in your garden or calling your mom up or whatever, all of those good little actions are being planted and they stay in your mind. That's what's so amazing. All that good energy is there. So even 2 lifetimes from now, that person you will become has access to those good seeds that they can make ripen to produce good appearances. Like I always say, like many people say, it's not just me, Geshe Michael said this, and some of his students or my friends always said, we always say that, we have to thank the person from our past life that put us here to do all the Dharma. Like I always think, I know who that guy was. Like I'm such a chump, but that guy put so much work into putting me here now where I'm studying with Rinpoche and here, in the 21st century studying Dharma. Like those people, whoever they were, did a lot of work for a long, long time to put all this good energy that's sort of cascading down into my life right now. So anyway, karma is a positive thing. This means anything is possible. We just have to create the right kind of habits. So it shouldn't just be a negative, scary thing. It's like, oh, I've been such a bad person. Oh my God, It's more like, okay, now I'm starting to know the mechanism. Now I understand what renunciation really means. Renouncing bad karmic obstacles, renouncing bad karmic imprints, renouncing bad karmic habits, and like Rinpoche says, renunciation means that you want to practice Dharma. You're renouncing suffering. It just means in a positive way that you want to more and more practice Dharma. So we want to practice all the good karma, the good imprints, the good habits, and the good actions. Okay, so that's it. And next week, we'll do a talk on Bodhicitta. So this is the path of renunciation that we've been talking about. Next one will be path of Bodhicitta. So we can just have gone over a little bit here, sorry. We can just take a moment to do dedication. Just we've got the good energy here, so we can just think by blessings of all beings, all holy beings, our teachers and the Buddhas and so forth. And again, the truth of karma, cause and effect of planting these good seeds, creating these good actions that will inevitably have good effects. So we want to take all these actions and make sure, again, this is the third line of our dedication, that we have a good intention, bodhicitta intention, that we're gathering all this karma and sending it on its way for the benefit and enlightenment of all sentient beings. So blessings of all holy beings, the truth of karma, the power of our pure spirit, bodhicitta intention. May all sentient beings reach awakening. Okay. Let me just turn this off here. Thank you.